It's no secret that turning an old OEM desktop into a gaming PC is a great way for beginners and the budget conscious to enter the world of PC gaming. On my desk today, I have not one but two different styles from Dell and Lenovo, and in this video, I'm going to walk you guys through everything you need to know and do to turn your OEM pre-built into a PC powerhouse. Guys, welcome back to Tech 215. I'm your host Nick, and in today's video, we're not only going to be looking at one, but two OEM pre-builds from the likes of Dell and Lenovo. I chose the Dell Mid-Tower Optiplex 3020, and I also chose the Lenovo ThinkCentre M93P small form factor. As a PC tech enthusiast and an IT professional, one of the biggest questions I get asked is, how can I build my son or daughter a super cheap gaming PC so they can play Fortnite with all their friends? In terms of old OEM pre-builds, it does not get any better than Dell and Lenovo. In my opinion, they simply do it the best. In this video, I'm going to show you guys the things you need to know in order to turn your old OEM pre-built into a gaming machine, because the mid-towers, you have options with the graphics card and the power supply, and then when it comes to the small form factor, you need to make sure you choose the right graphics card to fit the case. But guys, before we get started today, please remember to subscribe to the channel. I put videos out about once a week, all pertaining to PC budget tech. We're going to run the usual benchmarks like Cinebench R15 as well as Unigine Heaven, and we'll also be benching Fortnite, Apex Legends, and I'm adding two new games, Resident Evil 3 and also Need for Speed Heat. With all that being said, guys, let's get into it. So let's dive into system number one, the Dell Optiplex 3020 Mid-Tower. It does not get any more classic than this. The Optiplex is without a doubt the most iconic OEM. That silver and black is a classic. And the reason they are so great is that they are super affordable on the used market and offer better compatibility when upgrading hardware like memory and various types of GPUs. But this is my buddy Rob's Optiplex. He picked it up for $80 off Craigslist, and it came standard with the i5 4590, 8 GB of DDR3 1280, and a standard 1 TB hard drive. Now there are three ways to upgrade these machines, but we are going all out and replacing the power supply, graphics card, and SSD. So the first thing you'll want to do is remove the stock Dell PSU, and the reason we're doing this is because they do not have the necessary 6 or 8 pin connectors needed to power the GPU. Now you can go with a GPU that is powered by the PCI Express bus only, but we'll get into that in the next build. We are using the EVGA 600 watt weight certified PSU, which I picked up for $20 about a year ago on EVGA's midweek madness. But since the price of PSUs are through the roof right now, we'll adjust for inflation and call it $30 even. With this model of Optiplex, Dell uses a proprietary 8-pin connector, so we had to order an 8 to 24 pin adapter to attach our PSU to our motherboard. This adapter costs $8 and you can find them easily on eBay. I will leave a link in the description below. Next on our list of upgrades is swapping out that hard drive and replacing it with an SSD. We picked up the Crucial BX500, one of my favorite budget SSDs, for $30 brand new off Newegg. And since I had to rip out the hard drive cage to fit our GPU, I'm just mounting it using 3M stickies, and they are great for little projects like this. And finally, for our GPU, a good friend of mine, Alex, donated the EVGA 780 classified to the channel. So we're going to use this and call it $50, since that's a regular price on eBay. And even though this is an older card, I think that you guys are going to be shocked at how well it performs and how well it pairs up with the i5 4590. Simply plug the card into the PCI Express port and plug the 8 and 6 pin connector into the card, and our Dell Optiplex is now a full functioning gaming machine. And one last quick note, guys, I always change the thermal paste on the CPU whenever buying an older machine, as the last time it was applied was probably at the factory, and this will ensure proper contact and heat transfer to the cooler. So now let's move on to the Lenovo ThinkCentre M93P small form factor. Now these are a little different and at times a bit more simplistic, but options become more limited in the small form factor universe. I picked up two of these Lenovo ThinkCentres for $50 each, and it has very similar specs to the Optiplex 3020. it features the i5-4570, which is also a 4-core, 4-threaded Haswell CPU. I upgraded the memory to 8GB for $20, and we'll be using the GTX 750 Ti low-profile card, and once again, using the Crucial BX 500. These are so simple to upgrade. You just pop open the side panel, hook up the SSD, unlock the rear bracket for the GPU, and install your low-profile graphics cards. Guys, just a quick tip, when buying small form factor builds, make sure you purchase a low-profile card. Some of the old head IT guys call these half-height cards, which makes sense because they are literally half the height. These cards are great for small form factor builds since they run off the PCI Express bus and don't require any additional power from your PSU. But there are only a limited number of models available and they can be a bit pricey. But here's a quick hardware recap for you guys for both machines. So with all that out of the way, let's see what these guys can do. First up is Cinebench R15, and both CPUs finish with roughly the same scores, but it's obvious the 780 is just way more powerful than the 750 Ti, almost doubling the frame rate in OpenGL. On to Unigine Heaven, where the 780 got a score of 2719 and racked up 108 FPS, and the 750 Ti scored only an 1182 with an average FPS in the mid-40s. But on to our first game of the day, Fortnite, where on high settings, the 780 racked up 78 average FPS, and with a mix of low to medium settings, the 750 Ti hit that magical 60 FPS number and played smooth and consistent the whole time through. On to Apex Legends, where on high settings, the 780 cruised on through with an average of 68 FPS, and on the lowest graphical setting, our low-profile GPU had just enough horsepower to hit that magical 60 FPS mark. Now let's move on to a new AAA title, the remake of Capcom's epic Resident Evil 3. The 780 on high settings came in at 60 FPS on the nose, while on low settings, the 750 Ti hovered just above 43, making it a very console-esque experience. And last on our list, we have the newly released Need for Speed Heat by EA, where at high settings, the GTX 780 started showing its age in this graphically intense game, hitting 48 FPS, while the 750 Ti on the lowest settings hit just around 40 FPS. These newer titles were still very playable with a few graphical tweaks, but it's obvious having less than 4GB of VRAM, your card will struggle in these newer, graphically intense games. Alright guys, so that is pretty much everything you need to know in order to turn your old OEM pre-built into a viable gaming PC, but just a quick couple tips before we get out of here today, guys. Just remember, when you're buying a GPU for your small form factor builds, remember to get a half-height or a low-profile graphics card. The low-profile or half-height cards can be a little bit more expensive compared to their regular-sized counterparts. For example, a 1050 Ti you can get on the used market for probably around $100, but the low-profile version of that card is around $160 to $170. You know, guys, like Zotac has a card called the 1080 Mini or the 1060 Mini. They are not low-profile graphics cards. While they are smaller compared to the regular-sized GPUs, they do not have that half-height, so they won't fit. So just be really careful if you're going small form factor to make sure you get a half-height or a low-profile graphics card. Quick tip, guys, if you have an older Dell, check on that 24-pin adapter. I rebuilt my buddy Demir's Optiplex the other day, and he did not need the 24 to 8 pin connector. His Dell Optiplex, which was a 3rd gen, had an i7 3770 in it. He did not need that 8-pin adapter. His EVGA power supply plugged right in and it powered right on, so you do not necessarily need that adapter, but some of the Optiplexes you do need to watch for because they have that 8-pin proprietary on the motherboard. Last thing I want to talk about, guys, is streaming. You can stream on something like the Optiplex 3020, but I honestly don't think you're going to get the best results. I really think in order to stream, you need at least 4 cores and 8 threads. Having those 4 extra threads, having the hyper threading really does help accelerate with your stream. I know you guys in the comments have been asking me to do a budget stream build. That is coming, I promise. It is on the agenda. We're gonna try to build an awesome streaming gaming PC for around the $400 mark. So working really hard to get that done. But that about does it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for sticking around. Thanks for all the support of late. Really appreciate it. But please remember to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so you guys don't miss a thing. Again, I drop videos about once a week on everything budget PC tech. And if you guys have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section down below. I read every comment and I reply to every comment. So if you guys have a question, feel free to ask. You guys can also find me on Instagram at tech_215_. I'm on there all the time posting things about the channel and everything budget PC tech related. But everyone out there, stay safe, guys. Stay quarantined. I know this sucks, but we should be able to get through this relatively soon. And hopefully, by the beginning of summer, everything should be back to normal. But stay safe, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. I should be back in about a week with more tech content. Peace.